What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good With Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today I want to talk to you about how you do anything is how you do everything. This topic, this idea literally came up today as I was talking to my girlfriend, Cassie, while we were working out. She's a strength coach at a D1 college in the Cincinnati area, Northern Kentucky University, so Northern Kentucky area, which is right next to Cincinnati. Anyway, we were talking about some of her athletes and how they were having trouble doing a core exercise on an exercise ball. So essentially, just to describe it to you so that you can kind of visualize what was happening, the exercise they were doing is they were in push-up position with their toes up on an exercise ball or yoga ball, whatever you want to call it, the big round squishy ball. And they were having trouble keeping themselves stable on the ball. They were literally like rocking from side to side, falling off the ball easily. And for a 50 or 60-year-old, that makes more sense. For a D1 athlete, that doesn't make as much sense. Because when Cassie showed it, she just got up there, put her toes up, showed the exercise, and then moved on. And they were all baffled that they did a terrible job of doing the exercise, and she made it look so easy. Number one, she's a machine, so there's certainly that. But number two, I think that there's something else going on, and we started talking about this, which brought up the idea for today's episode. How you do anything is how you do everything. Before I get to the idea, before we dive into that, make sure you guys are sharing these episodes. Make sure you share this with somebody else who is trying to improve themselves in some way, shape, or form. Remember that when you have a podcast, literally the only way, not the only way, but the primary way that it grows is when it is shared. Yes, it is found on podcast searches and things like that. That is definitely a way. Obviously, posting on Instagram and posting on social, whenever I do that, that helps improve it as well. But people who listen to podcasts share podcasts, and they usually share it with other people who listen to podcasts, which is why that is so beneficial whenever you share a podcast episode, not only from the Good With Project, but for any other podcast as well. Any small podcast that you listen to, the best way to help them grow is to share the episode. So thank you guys for doing that, because that is super beneficial for us and super beneficial for, of course, the person that you're sharing with, as they can also improve themselves, especially in this manner. Because this idea, how you do anything is how you do everything, maybe you've heard it before, but it is very underappreciated and very underrated. So to go back to the story with the D1 athletes trying to get on a exercise ball and balance themselves, essentially, not standing on it, but hands down in push-up position and their toes up on the ball. It's essentially a core activation exercise and balance exercise at the same time. And they were struggling with it. So my thought was, after she told me that, is that a big reason why they were struggling is because their capability to focus is zero, or pretty damn close to zero. If you look at the average person, and especially anybody younger than my generation, I'm technically a millennial. I'm one of the older millennials, if you will. But any generation younger than me, their focus is pretty damn close to zero. And the reason that is because the cell phone. The cell phone is the biggest distraction of our time and the biggest mental deteriorator of our time as well. Biggest fucking killer of focus out there is that cell phone. Because we literally answer to it. It doesn't answer to us. Anytime it makes a noise, anytime it dings, anytime we think about anything at all, we almost always pick up our phone. That is a interaction issue with the phone. It is not a focus issue with ourselves, meaning whenever we lose our capability to focus, or we feel like we're not able to focus, we go, well, I'm just not able to focus anymore because I'm getting older, or because I'm stupid, or because XYZ, that's just who I am. Well, that's probably not the case. It's probably that you've trained yourself to not be focused, usually by how you interact with your phone. How you interact with your phone is how you will then interact with the world and everything else. How this correlates to the exercise thing that I'm talking about is that in order to do any exercise proficiently, especially an exercise where you're trying to stabilize your feet on the ball while your hands are on the ground, it takes a level of focus. And if you don't have that level of focus, then there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to do it well. So when I said, hey, there's a good chance that these kids suck at this exercise because they can't focus because of their phone, most people are like, what does their phone have to do with exercising? Well, this is what it has to do with it. If you are training yourself to not focus on your phone and you go to do an exercise that requires focus and effort and mental, you have to be within the exercise and focus on the exercise and focus on your body in order to complete it effectively and proficiently, then you're not going to be able to do the damn exercise effectively. It's that simple. So when I say how you do anything is how you do everything, what I mean is when you look at the skills that it takes to achieve things in life, how you do things and build those skills or deteriorate those skills will affect how they're used in other areas. I'm not suggesting that if you start using your phone better, then all of a sudden you're going to start exercising better. That is not the correlation I'm suggesting here. I'm suggesting it is the macro skill of focus. When you're using the phone, or when it's using you, and when you're exercising, it is that skill of focusing, or not focusing in this case, that is the problem. How you focus in this area will determine how you focus over here. Now, granted, you may be able to improve your focus in exercise to some degree, but your mind will still not be able to focus as effectively because you are fucking it up so badly while you're on your phone or answering to your phone or jumping on and off your phone and scrolling from one thing to the next and tapping and moving and everything else. So that's what I mean when I say how you do anything is how you do everything. How you develop skills in life, how you use skills that you say that you want, how you use them in areas of life, especially areas that take up a lot of time, and people spend a lot of freaking time on their phones. How you use those skills will determine how that skill is then used in other areas of life. Okay, let me use another example to bring home the point, if you will. I'm gonna grab a drink first real quick. So another example would be school. My argument would be that for at least 70% of kids in school, if not more, 80% plus, trying to tell them that they need to go to school to get good grades for the sake of getting good grades is the dumbest thing in the world. And yet that's what we try to do. There's a small percentage, 20%, maybe less, of students who love that idea. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get good grades and I'm going to study hard. My girlfriend Cassie happens to be one of those people. The idea of getting good grades is a good thing. Now, granted, Cassie is a super hard worker anyway and super diligent and super persistent and all of those things. But nonetheless, she also is the type of person, I didn't know her in high school, but just from our conversations, like loved to go and get good grades. Like that was something that she strove for. So she would have been the type of person that if someone's like, hey, you need to go to school and get good grades, she would have been like, great, yep, that's what I'm going to go do. Me, you tell me to go get good grades, I'm like, meh, what? I have football, I got girls, I got things to do, I got to go hang out, I got other things that I could pay attention to. Why, I don't know. What do the grades have to do with anything? Like early on, I figured out like the grades have nothing to do with how my life is going to go. So why in the world am I all that concerned about it? And I believe that that's the case for the vast majority of kids in school, the vast majority. So to say that to somebody is not motivating. However, if you change the idea and you change the focus and you help them understand that when you do things a certain way and you build skills while you're doing things, that then those macro skills can be translated to the work that you want to do, the sports that you want to improve on, the things that you're going to do after school. Those skills are going to improve those things in the future as well. So if instead we said, hey, all right, don't go to school for the sake of getting good grades. Don't work hard for the sake of getting good grades. Yes, you want to get good grades, sure. But the purpose of working hard to get good grades is not for the sake of getting good grades. It is to become the kind of person that works hard to do things. It's to become the kind of person that overcomes challenges when shit gets hard. It's to become the kind of person that persists. It's to become the kind of person that has the discipline to sit down and study. It's to become the kind of person that can focus over long periods of time. Do you see how these macro skills play a part in life always, all the time, moving forward, consistently, forever, always? And it is adults of all that are going, oh, I wish I had more discipline. Oh, I wish I had more willpower. Oh, I wish I had more focus. Oh, I wish I had more persistence. Oh, I wish I had more XYZ, whatever. It is adults who are saying that, and there's a good chance that it's because early on they didn't develop that discipline. They didn't develop that willpower. They didn't develop that ability to motivate themselves in some way, shape, or form. And it starts potentially with school. We spend a lot of fucking time in school. Unnecessary time, I would argue, but we spend a ton of time in school. And if we spend a ton of time in school, then if we switch our motivation, if we switch what we're trying to improve on, not only getting good grades for the sake of getting good grades, but for the sake of becoming a kind of person that persists in a thing and persists in a task and becomes better at a task and pushes ourselves forward and becomes more disciplined. If that were our focus, then maybe more kids would focus. Maybe more kids would work hard. Maybe more kids would be disciplined. Maybe more kids would have willpower. Maybe more kids would do things like this. If that were the focus. And that's, again, when I say how you do anything is how you do everything, that is what I mean. Well, Jerry, what is school? I was in school, like I graduated 20 years ago or 21 years ago, 20, whatever. What does that have to do with anything? It has everything to do with anything. Because how you did things for 10, 15 years of your life or however long we're in school, it affects how you do things today. And how you start to do things today will affect how you do things tomorrow. And how you do things tomorrow will affect how you do things the next day, and so on and so forth. Your actions and the skills that you build and the behaviors that you have and the abilities that you develop are all lagging indicators of your previous day and days and weeks and months' efforts. It's all lagging indicators, meaning you're not going to see the results today. You're going to see them tomorrow. You're going to see them next week. You're going to see them next month. You're going to see them next year. You're going to see them next decade. That's when you're going to see those results. That's when you're going to see those things change. That's why, you get your phone and a year down the road, you're like, oh man, my focus, I feel like my focus sucks. I feel like I'm dumber. I feel like my short-term memory sucks and all these things that people say. And really it's because your phone. It has nothing to do with you being a year older or you whatever, like because, I don't know, you're a dumb person all of a sudden. No, it has nothing to do with that. It is a simple fact of the way that you use your phone. Your phone makes you dumber. Your phone makes you focus less. Your phone makes you all of these things that you keep telling yourself. How you use your phone will affect how you do everything else, will affect how you feel about yourself. It will affect your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, and all these other things. So, as you can tell, I'm starting to get a little worked up about this, but unless you start to make these kinds of connections, when you go, I just don't know why I can't get myself motivated to work out. I just don't know why I can't stay disciplined long enough to work out. I don't know why I can't stay disciplined on a diet. I don't know why I can't stay focused on a book for so long. Well, the reason you can't stay focused on reading a book, which is just a plain piece of paper, black and white piece of paper with some typing on it, is because of the way you use your phone. It's not because you don't like books or you don't want to read books. It's because of the way you use your phone. It's because your mind, your brain, is used to just scrolling on your phone. And that's what it's used to doing. And if that's the type of activity that it's used to, when you go to a book, then your ability to stay within the book and focus on the words and actually track and pay some level of attention is going to be small. And it's going to feel like, well, I guess I just am the type of person who doesn't read books. But really, you're just the type of person who is controlled by your phone, is really all that's happening there. So making these connections is insanely important because of this. Because we feel a certain way, we feel like we can't do a certain thing in a certain area of our life, and there's a good chance it's because we're killing that skill somewhere else. We're stomping on it. We're like literally it's a fire, and we're literally pouring water on it somewhere else. So if you go back to another analogy I've used, I'm gonna grab some more. I just got finished working out not too long ago. Little parched still. If you go back to another analogy I've used, if you think about a sports car, and you're in the sports car, and you have your foot on the brake, and you put your foot on the gas as hard as you can. The car's not going to go anywhere because your foot is on the brake. As soon as you let your foot off the brake, then the car will take off. It'll take off. Make sense? You are the exact same way. If you're putting your foot on the brake of a skill in one area, and you're trying to apply that skill in another area, you're going to have a very hard time applying that skill. You might be able to do it a little better because it's an area you enjoy and you like it a lot, but damned if it is not affecting that area to some degree, some way, shape, or form. Especially if you feel like you really can't do it. Oh, I really just can't stay focused. I really just can't stay disciplined. I really just can't stay motivated. I really just can't, whatever other macro skill that you want to apply. If your foot is on the brake over here, it will be on the brake over there. So how do you start to recognize where you're putting your foot on the brake so that you can take your foot off the brake in other areas? A quote that I say here very often: unless you make the unconscious conscious, it'll dictate your life and you will call it fate. My belief is one of the main and hardest things and goals of life, ongoing in life, is constantly building more awareness. Awareness and understanding about the blind spots that you have, about the thoughts that you have, about the feelings that are holding you back, about the actions that you're taking, about the beliefs that you have about the world and about yourself, and it is becoming aware of those things. That is my belief about the goal, one of the main things that we should be doing in life. Constantly becoming aware, constantly becoming conscious of the things, that are holding us back. Most of which, or I would argue all of which, have to do with us, not the world, not things outside of us, but us. We like to look at all of those things outside of us because it's much easier to point at other things. It's hard to look at us and go, man, this thought triggered this feeling, which caused me to do this action. It's harder for me to do that than it is to go, I just didn't like that type of exercise. I just don't like that diet there. I just don't like this person. I just don't like that thing. And that's why I failed at XYZ. Not my thought about something led to a feeling that led me to take action or inaction, which is just a different type of action. That's much harder to do. But that is the goal of life. It is to constantly become aware of how we're holding ourselves back. That doesn't mean you're always buzzing, trying to figure out where you're screwing up or where you're not, because that would be exhausting as well. But it is starting to build a level of awareness about the things that you're doing. So instead of you saying things like, well, I guess I'm just the type of person who doesn't have discipline. I guess I'm just the type of person who can't be motivated. I guess I'm just the type of person who can't complete this thing or achieve this goal. Starting to look at yourself overall throughout the day, your actions, your behaviors, the things that you do, and saying, how am I hurting this skill that I'm trying to build? Where am I deteriorating that skill? To go back to the phone, most people are terribly unconscious about how they use their phone. They literally do it automatically. The average person spends somewhere in the range of 3 to 6 hours on their phone. That's ridiculous. If the average person is awake for, let's see, the average person maybe sleeps 8 hours. So that means they're awake for 16 hours. If you're awake for 16 hours and you're spending 6 hours on your phone, that's a lot of time that you're spending on your phone. That is almost half of your day. It's a lot of time. So, and most of that time is unconscious. It is you walk by your phone and you pick it up, or you're sitting and you're typing and you just have just something. I wonder what the weather's going to be. I wonder what the score of the game was. I wonder what XYZ. I wonder who sang that song that's stuck in my head. Whatever it is, and you pick up your phone. It is an automatic, unconscious behavior. And when you do that over and over again, you lose the ability to do the opposite of that, which is to focus, to stay on task, to persist forward, to keep going, to be disciplined. And that affects other parts of your life. So ask yourself, where am I doing that? So that you can then start changing the behaviors in that area to improve other areas of your life. I would go ahead and tell you to start with your phone, because if you are like most people, which considering the bell curve is most people, that's where most people fit. If you are like most people, that is the thing that affects you the most. And that is affecting all other areas of your life. If you feel like you're having trouble making progress in many areas of your life, I would argue if you just started changing the relationship with your phone, those areas would improve. Sounds stupid, but try me. Try me. So start there. Start making changes. As you make changes to other areas and you start to increase your focus in certain areas and you start to improve your discipline in certain areas, you'll see how then you can do that in the areas that matter to you. Your relationship, for instance, or your fitness, or nutrition, or the business that you're trying to grow or start or whatever. You'll see how those things will start to change in your mindset and your belief about how those things will go about and what you can do with them. They will start to change because you're taking the brakes off over here. You're not holding yourself limited by the deterioration of the skills in this general area. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. If you deteriorate your skills over here, it will hurt your abilities to use those skills in other areas as well. That's what we're trying to unwind in life. It's just an ongoing process of getting out of our own fucking way. Ongoing process of getting out of our way. Of figuring out and going, did it again. That's okay. But guess what? I can make a better choice next time. Well, I didn't see that happening. I didn't realize I was doing this that was having such a huge impact on my life. Guess what? It's okay. Now I can change it. Now I can do something about it. Now I can make a different decision next time. I can think a different thought. I can have a different feeling. Therefore, I can take a different action. And then I can start getting different outcomes in my life. That's what this is about. Okay? It's also why I would say it is so important that you give yourself grace along the way, because this is going to be the hardest thing that you do. Most people are like, oh, it's exercising that's the hard thing. Oh, it's working out, that's the hard thing. Oh, it's changing whatever, whatever. Starting the business, it's doing this, it's doing that. No. The reason that those things are hard is because of your beliefs about how the world is, your beliefs about how you are, your thoughts, your feelings, and those things getting in the way. That's why those things are hard. That is the only reason why they're hard. It's not because they're hard. Exercise, not hard. Eating differently, not hard. Starting a business, not hard. Those things, not hard. What's hard is you. And if you start to take that seriously, those other things will become easy. You'll go, oh, this is easy. But if you start to take you seriously, and the fact that you have control of you have control of your thoughts, your feelings, what you say, what you believe. If you start to take that seriously, other things will change, hands down, no questions asked. If you don't believe me, try me. You don't believe me, try me. Make sure that you're sharing this episode with anybody else who's getting in their own damn way. That is probably every person that you walk past on the street. Share this with them so that they can understand how you do anything is how you do everything, so that they can start moving forward as well. Until next time, appreciate you listening to me babble.